Hi YouTube, G-Clef here with another Minisode of Answering Anti-Islam. Today, we'll be covering the claim that Muslims don't speak out against the terrorism done in their own name. I can say that I, as a Muslim, have frequently denounced it all over most websites I belong to, from Facebook to Quora. There are many cases all over the internet of Muslims protesting terrorism. I have some videos at the end of this narration, and you can simply Google it for yourself as well. However, in this claim's favor, it immediately stops the question as to why Muslims would protest terrorism to begin with. This question is disastrous to the claim. One who calls himself an Orthodox Muslim follows some traditionally accepted version of Islamic law called fiqh law. Sharia law is a collection of precedents believed to be written by God, divine law, while fiqh law is the struggle for human capacity to understand and implement them. Simply put, the structure is much like our own Constitution here in the US. The Constitution is the precedent, while the courts struggle with how to implement those precedents. The major difference, of course, being in Islamic law, there is a plurality of legal viewpoints with different rulings from different people. So long as they stay inside the traditional boundaries of Islam, they are accepted. There are cases that are very illustrative about who follows fiqh and or sharia and who doesn't. The classic example I always give, and this is not to step on any toes, is the Nation of Islam. The difference between the NOI and Orthodox Islam is almost the difference between Catholicism and Mormonism. I can easily demonstrate that the ideology of the NOI is far from traditional Islam. The NOI has something called the Muslim Program, a sort of shorthand manifesto for their ideology. In the section, What the Muslims Believe, we see point 12. We believe that Allah appeared in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, July 1930, the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians and the Mahdi of the Muslims. When one actually does the research, they'll find there will never be any claims that God becomes a man in Orthodox Islam. This is because of the Tawhid, or oneness of God. Al-Ikhlas, for example, says God does not beget nor is God begotten. The concept of a Mahdi has nothing to do with being God. These teachings are directly opposed to Sharia and thus fiqh law. Therefore, by Orthodox standards, the Nation of Islam is anything but Muslim. Likewise, when examining the suicide bombing, for example, we can see fiqh law applies. Primarily, we should examine the word suicide first. The Quran itself argues against suicide. Quote, "And do not kill yourselves. Surely God is merciful to you." Quran 4:29. Quote, "And do not throw yourselves into destruction." Quran 2:195. The Quran is the source of all Islamic ethics inside both Sharia and fiqh law. Thus, when reading hadith on warfare, you'll notice there is nothing directly saying commit suicide. On this score alone, terrorism can be classified as un-Islamic. At this point, some people counter with the no true Scotsman fallacy claim. Here's an example from Wikipedia. Person A. No Scotsman put sugar on his porridge. Person B. But my Uncle Angus likes sugar with his porridge. Person A. Ah yes, but no true Scotsman put sugar on his porridge. The critical error of this claim is it fails to realize we're talking about a religion, not a nationality. That would read something like, Person A, no Christian believes the resurrection was false. Person B, but my uncle Angus doesn't believe in the resurrection or in the crucifixion. Person A, but no true Christian disbelieves in the resurrection or in the crucifixion. In this case, this is not a fallacy, but a question of orthodox religious dogma. The crucifixion and resurrection are the highest importance to what defines one as a Christian. To not believe in that doctrine makes you a non-Christian by orthodox standards, and thus, de facto, not a Christian. Likewise, we can apply this to both Sharia and fiqh law. If someone is violating a major warfare rule, they are not acting as Muslims. Thus, there have been many religious leaders issuing fatwas about terrorism. So there you have it. It's not just me saying this.
A diverse community which rejoices in our differences, our different cultures, our different faiths, our different races, our different colors, our different levels of intelligence, our different levels of incomes. A great diversity, which is one of the unique features of urban living across the world. And of people who've been given so much as we have, much is expected. And so we reject completely the simple labels of focusing one attitude for our city, which says we're a place of terrorism. It is simply not true. The evidence is not here. The evidence is of cohesion, of community dynamics, and of a rejoicing that in the 21st century it might just be possible for 160 nations to live together in amongst 1 million people, and so demonstrate to the world that human beings can not just love God, but also love their neighbor.
Alle, die uns jetzt zuschauen, bitte reiht euch ein. Dieser Aufruf gilt euch. Reiht euch ein!
Reiht euch ein!
Gemeinsam gegen Terror sein!
Gemeinsam gegen Terror sein!
Reiht euch ein!
Gemeinsam gegen Terror sein!
Reiht euch ein!
Reiht euch ein!
Aren't you worried about your safety, your own safety, when you say things like this? Because the people that you're talking about are people who are known to blow themselves up. They have very little care for their own life. And you're saying these things very openly.
I know. I have to say very openly. I have to serve my iman. My life is a life of a single person. And I am much worried about those thousands and millions of lives who are being killed. And secondly, I want to de-radicalize the youth. I am bothering and worried about the lives of the youth of my nation, the youth of the Ummah of Holy Prophet. Those who are going, those who have been detracked, those who have been misguided, and those who are committing suicide bombing and directly going to hellfire, and those who are committing terroristic acts, irrespective of the fact whether you are killing a peaceful Muslim or a peaceful non-Muslim. Islam has not created any distinction between the two. The same are the consequences if you kill a non-Muslim citizen, a civilian, as were the consequences if you kill a Muslim civilian. Every person who is non-combatant.
The ISIS do not represent Islam or any Muslim.
Because it's totally un-Islamic.
Because they're killing innocent people.
Because you're unjust.
We must all unite together and try to stop this group from damaging Islam and damaging Muslims.
Not in my name.
Because your leader is a liar.
Because your actions do not represent the actions of the rightly guided companions.
Because your caliphate doesn't represent the Ummah.
Because what you're doing is inhumane.
Because you abuse heart and minds.
Because you have no compassion.
Because my religion promotes tolerance for women, and you have no respect for women.